Hello friends, and welcome to Figure Study, where I'm looking at another movie figure, this time from the fan favorite Hunt for the Decepticons line. I mean, I know there are outliers, but it seems like mostly universally it was primarily Hunt for the Decepticons and Revenge of the Fallen that seemed to produce the best and most beloved toys. I don't know. All I know is we're looking at Tomahawk, and yeah, I've seen people, by people I mean who refer to Tomahawk as one of, if not the best copter formers, and yeah, I gotta say, he is one of the best copter formers. I mean, since then we have gotten Spinister and Rotorstorm, but predating Spinister and Rotorstorm, he is absolutely one of, if not the best mainline copter formers that I'm aware of. This is a fun little, almost Airwolf-like helicopter. I know it's not actually the same kind of helicopter, but I think this guy's neat. He's kind of chubby. He's got this kind of thick midsection, and I guess you could say a little bit of a paunch. And it's a pretty convincing helicopter, all things considered. Yeah, you've got robot legs tucked around the underside, but it doesn't look too terribly overtly like robot legs, so I'm inclined to give it a pass. Okay, I knew about the landing gear here, but they were really stuck in there, but I just managed to get him out, so now he will sit without tipping backwards, so that's good. The helicopter, despite being a little chubby around the midsection, is really, really relatively clean. The colors are nice too. It's primarily black with like a little bit of gold accents in a few places and a little bit of silver, and that works great. Black and gold, or black and silver, or black and a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of red. That kind of stuff always looks good. I don't really know what else to say about Tomahawk's helicopter mode. Like I said, it looks good. I think it's neat. But really, for me, the main thing with this guy is the transformation and the robot mode. So I guess let's just move along to that. First, we have to put this tiny little bladed bird thing, I don't know, I'm trying to come up with ways to talk about him being tiny and adorable without getting too over the top with it, but I think I'm kind of failing at that. So I'm just going to move on to size comparisons. Here he is with the standard deluxe squad, and he is actually a bit smaller than standard deluxe, all things considered. I mean, he's a little bit longer, but you know, most of the mass is right in the center of the helicopter body there, so that's kind of what I'm looking at more than anything. And yeah, I think he's a little bit small for a deluxe. Oh no, that's never happened before. And as a comparison with pretty much the only other helicopter transformer I've currently got, I mean, Spinister counts, but I don't really feel like transforming him back and forth multiple times because I need to keep him in robot mode for the standard deluxe squad comparisons. But anyway, yeah, here he is with the Spinister mold. Generation selects Rotorstorm, so you can see how Rotorstorm slash Spinister is a little bit bigger of a helicopter, but again, like the mass distribution is a little bit different too. Granted, most of it is still towards the center, but it's a little bit, I don't know, rounder in the midsection for Tomahawk. And here he is with the duck tank. Alright, transformation time, and this is pretty interesting actually, so let's get going. There we have Tomahawk in robot mode, and this is pretty darn cool. I actually like this quite a bit. It is definitely a bit of a movie aesthetic thing going here, just something about the movie aesthetics from like Revenge of the Fallen, Hunt for the Decepticons that, I don't know, there's a quality to it that I think a lot of the both studio series and just other movie line stuff was missing. But anyway, this is really cool, and I kind of like how you don't really get much in the way of kibble on this guy when he's bipedal. You've got the helicopter tail on the arms, which kind of works like gauntlets or little stabby things, and if you wanted to, you could even pull this back out to give him like a extended claw hand, which I don't think looks very good. Other than that, got the helicopter blades, which I think tuck away pretty nicely, and the little wings that, again, kind of tuck away pretty nicely, and you can also use them to help keep the helicopter blades from moving around too much. And that's pretty much it for Kibble. I think it looks really good. Now I should say this guy does come with missile launchers, and I do have them, but I did not take them out of my storage because I don't care enough to. I'm sorry. He doesn't need them because he's already got missiles mounted on these wings here. They don't look particularly good if you leave them pegged in under the wings. They kind of get in the way of the arms, and they don't really look good as guns, and the missiles that he can fire out of them are gigantic. So you've got these tiny little guns that do manage to get in the way, and these massive missiles that get in the way even further. So yeah, I'm just, no thank you. What we're left with all of that aside, is a pretty cool looking robot. I like how most of the identifiable helicopter bits are all in the upper body, like the torso and the arms. Because really the legs were just tucked underneath the helicopter and giving it that little kind of pudginess to it. And so it's, I don't know, there's just something neat about the design of this guy where pretty much the entire alt mode is just in the upper body section. It definitely makes a impromptu, even though it's probably totally planned, Gerwalk mode work a lot better. Colors are really nice too, with this kind of brownish plastic in a few places, like the shoulders, the missiles, and the feet. And then of course black everywhere for the calves, the forearms, the most of the torso and the head, the wings, the helicopter blades, all that stuff. And then little bits of gray in the upper body and arms, and then primarily gray for the legs. It's a really interesting color distribution. And then having just like a little bit of yellow for the torso and the head, I think also works really nicely. And it's interesting that he is a helicopter former that has more of a classic Seeker design, in the sense that he's got the kind of vent pectorals and the cockpit section in the chest. Detailing is also pretty nice, which is a thing that a lot of the earlier movie figures did, where you can see like the molded hydraulics in the toes, and also some pistons going up the legs. There's some nice little red painted bits in the forearms and the fronts of the shoulders, and again those exhausts. It's a relatively simple but neat robot. He does do the chicken leg thing, which doesn't bother me at all in this particular instance. For some reason I think it works for a guy that turns into a helicopter. I don't know. It just makes sense to me. It probably also doesn't hurt that his feet are definitely unorthodox. These are like almost like bird feet ski things. I feel like if he had more normal looking feet, it would probably look more out of place. Funny enough, the head is the only thing that really disappoints me on this guy. I think it's fine, like the colors are good, the black and gold is really nice, and that yellow that they brought in from the cockpit section also looks really nice. And his eyes, they're like blue, you can kind of see them through the visor, even though it's a light piping thing. I'm just not that enthusiastic about the head sculpt. It's just kind of a nondescript robot man wearing a pilot's helmet, or even possibly a motorcycle helmet. I mean, I imagine it's meant to look more like the kind of helmet someone who's piloting a helicopter would wear, but it's just, I know there's a third-party kit that replaces the head to give him like a mono eye, make him look like a drone, or like Whirl, basically. Incidentally, if they had done this in blue and given him the mono eye, it would have made a great Whirl. Point is, I know that that kit exists, and I would love to get my hands on it, but I'm not paying the absurd aftermarket prices for it on the rare occasion it pops up, and I'm not bothered enough by the head to make that kind of a commitment. It just would have been nice if they had done something a little different with the head, or if I had been able to get my hands on a figure that does the head a little differently. I also know they did a Springer for this, which it's fine, but I really feel like this would have been incredible as Whirl. As for the articulation, the head is on a ball joint, so it can look left and right, can look up and down a bit. Not much, but a bit. And it can very slightly tilt. The winglets are on ball joints, so they can move up and down and around, but they're also very limited because of the way that the socket is situated, so you can't do too much with them. The shoulders are also on ball joints, so you can go forward and backward and out, though the outward motion is hindered because of the shape of the torso. You can also use the transformation joint to get a bit of a butterfly motion going backwards. You have bicep swivels, which is good. And then you've got elbows that bend to 90 degrees, so that's also good. You can't move the hands unless you start moving this stuff, which fine if you want to. No waist articulation, which I think is understandable given how this thing transforms. Maybe they could have gotten away with it, I don't know, but I think it's fine. The hips are on ball joints, so you can go forward about that far until the thigh starts crashing into this thing here. If this wasn't here, the leg could go forward further. Can go back a lot. Can go out almost 90 degrees. That's pretty good. There is also a thigh rotation. This black bit is separate from the rest of the leg, so you can rotate the thigh. The knee, it sits kind of high on the leg and bends less than 90 degrees, which kind of stinks, but I think for the chicken legs, the smaller thigh section is fine because it's sort of like he has two knees. Speaking of, the lower knee can go forward quite a bit for the transformation, and it can also straighten out. It can't go backwards any further than this, though. The foot can move up quite a bit. It can also move down and all the way around for the transformation, like past the heel. And then the heel, it can only go back this far. It cannot go any further back than this. That's kind of a natural stopping point, but it can move forward with the foot. Altogether, the articulation on Tomahawk is pretty decent. It's a little bit lacking in a couple of places, but it's fine. He's still a really nifty helicopter former. I really like the transformation on this guy, and I think aside from the head, he looks really cool in robot mode. Now to wrap this up and do our last bit of size comparisons. Let's bring this up a little bit more. That'll be enough. Here he is with the standard deluxe squad, and now let me bring this in just a little bit more. But here you can see that the helicopter is a little bit tiny. The robot mode, he's taller than Downshift, and only a little bit shorter than Spinister. Also, I don't have his legs fully extended, so he'd probably be not Spinister height, but closer to Spinister's height if you were fully stretched out. Just for the heck of it, I'll bring these in a little bit more. There we go. So here's Tomahawk with Rotor Storm, and you know, Rotor Storm, Spinister, it's a tall deluxe, so this size doesn't really bother me too much. But I do think it's interesting just how wildly different these molds are, because they both turn into helicopters. And here he is with the duck tank. So that does it for Revenge of the Fallen. No, Reveal the Shield? Hunt for the Decepticons. There's so many of these things. Also, Reveal the Shield was another really good one. I forgot that, but yeah. Hunt for the Decepticons, Reveal the Shield, Revenge of the Fallen. All really good lines from what I've seen and heard. But yeah, Hunt for the Decepticons Tomahawk is really, really good. I've been trying to avoid getting too much into the live-action movie figures, with a few exceptions, but clearly some exceptions are being made here because I've got Tomahawk, and I don't know. Tomahawk, I feel like, because he wasn't in the movie, he doesn't really have the aggressively hideous movie aesthetic like a lot of the actually in-movie characters have. I mean, I appreciate some of those designs, but they are a lot sometimes. But stuff like Tomahawk, Mind Wipe, Lockdown. Point is, he looks more like a robot man that turns into a helicopter than a jagged mess, and I really appreciate that. And yeah, just some of those live-action movie figures that are of characters that never showed up in the movies are really cool, and I need to try and talk myself out of tracking down more of them over time, but we'll see how that goes. But ultimately, I just want to say, Tomahawk is great. Everyone says Tomahawk is great, and now I understand why, because Tomahawk is great. I still absolutely would have preferred seeing this guy turned into Whirl and consequently getting that figure, but I've rambled long enough. So that is what I think of Hunt for the Decepticons Tomahawk. What do you all think of Hunt for the Decepticons Tomahawk? Or the repaint that they turned into Springer? What do you think of this mold in general? Whatever your thoughts, feel free to chime in down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all. If you like this video or any of the other videos that I've done and want to support the channel in addition to watching the videos in the first place, I do have a Patreon. It's a single $1 tier. It gets you early access to new videos, access to the occasional behind-the-scenes posts that I might make, and eventually I'm hoping I'm going to start doing polls, and so you'll be able to have some input on stuff that happens on the channel. With all that out of the way, thank you everybody for watching, and remember, art is more than meets the eye.